mipan, zoo, 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 zoo.
Yeah. Varsity has me by the throat. It is showing me life. It is slapping me silly. It's showing me my ancestors. I can't. I'm so tired. Like, this is not fun. It's not fun. I want to leave. But you know what? It's my final year and I have a few months left. So we got this. And these flies. Oh my gosh. Anyway. Yeah, when things start getting this hectic and everything, I start thinking back to times where things were a whole lot simpler. So I decided that I'm going to share 6 movies with you guys that pretty much made my childhood. These are movies where every time I'd come back home from school, I just pop it into the VCR. Do they call it a VCR player? That thing. I just pop it in there and it'd just be playing in the background. Because I'd seen them so many times that I don't even need to watch to know what's happening. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Thumbelina. She was so tiny. Thumbelina is this... To be honest, I don't even know her backstory. I don't know how she became that tiny. But she's a person. She's a lady, a woman. But she's like literally the size of a thumb. And it was so precious to me because she used to just like ride around on her mom or guardian kitten. Not like biological mom, but like her guardian, yeah. So she used to just like chill there. She'd be just holding on to her mom's thumb and then just like helping her do stuff. And she was so sweet. And then she used to just sing all over the place. And she was the cutest. She was the cutest. I actually wanted a Thumbelina in my life, especially because at that time I wasn't exactly the most social. Yeah, there was just something really wholesome about the movie, and it was just one of those feel-good type of cartoons. Oh, there was a beetle guy who wanted to marry her, but obviously she didn't want to marry him, so that was a whole thing. And then there were the frogs who also wanted Thumbelina to be their wife or like to be a part of their family, but like she wasn't about that. So they literally kidnapped this little nugget. They kidnapped her, and then they well, I feel like if I tell you anymore, it's gonna ruin the movie if you ever feel like watching it one day. So I'm just gonna leave it there. It's amazing, it's wholesome, it's everything. It's life. Princess and the Pauper is a Barbie movie about 2 girls who live completely different lives, but they have this one thing in common, and that's the desire to escape the current state of their lives. So Erica, who's the pauper, she works as a seamstress for this really vile landlady, and in an effort to be able to pay off her parents' historic debt, she just has to work. She's basically an indentured servant. And all she wants to do is just to be able to be free and just make her own choices and just live how she wants, you know? And then there's Annalise, who's the princess. And she just wants to escape her royal duties and just be able to do what she wants, which is just to read science books all day and sleep in all the works. She literally says this in her little, the little musical song she has. So one day these 2 girls meet in their local town square, and then they realize that, oh crap, they literally look like the same person, just with different hair colors. So they decide to switch lives in order to hopefully be able to get the freedom that they've always desired, right? And yeah, well, if I explain anymore, that's even more of a spoiler than I was intending, so I'm just gonna stop there. But I just love everything about this movie. From the songs they sang, oh my gosh, those songs, they live in my heart, rent free, I'm telling you. And the plot itself, the humor in it, the unorthodox characters, and just everything in between. It was just so great. I watched it so much that the CD ended up with scratches on it from being played so much. And truth be told, I regret nothing. It was really worth watching that many times. So the movie starts with Wendy Darling. I really love her surname. Imagine having a surname named Darling. Okay, but okay. So it starts with Wendy Darling sitting in her living room, and she's telling stories to her two little brothers. And then suddenly they're visited by the magical Peter Pan. And by magical, I mean that Peter is dead as this boy who never ages. He can fly, and he's best friends with this sassy little fairy named Tink. Well, Tinkerbell, but Tink. So anyway, he invites Wendy and her brothers to Neverland, which is like this island where he lives with these boys who call themselves the Lost Boys. When they get there, Wendy and her brothers are kidnapped by Captain Hook. So now Peter and Tink and the Lost Boys actually need to go square up to Captain Hook in order to save the darlings. So when I tell you that this movie is a whole ride, I mean it. Wendy and Peter Pan's chemistry just makes my heart so soft. And the fact that they ended up together in real life just makes it even better. But yeah, it has some themes that are just so realistic and deep. Like this part where Mrs. Darling talks about how Mr. Darling had to give up on his dreams in order to be able to take care of his family and all of that. And that's honestly something that most parents can relate to. And just the visuals are so beautiful, and it's a classic. I love it. So the Grinch is this hella hairy, green, cynical grump who lives in solitude with his dog, and he just hates Christmas with a burning passion, and he hates the people of Whoville just as much. So one day he just decides that he's gonna steal Christmas, because that's a thing you can do. So this is a result of him being fed up with the noise that usually accompanies Christmas, and some other reasons. So Cindy Lou, the sweet little nugget from Whoville, decides to become friends with the Grinch, and she just wants to help him change his outlook on Christmas and maybe try and make him a happier person. No Christmas of mine is complete without this movie. The Grinch himself, he is amazing. He's so funny. And truth be told, the older I get, the more I realize that I can actually relate to the Grinch. I mean, the dude thrives in solitude. He just wants his peace. And the things he says just hit home more often than not. It was an amazing movie. And Jim Carrey deserves everything for that role. Fairytopia is centered around Elena, a flower fairy, and this little puffball named Bibble, and then a giant butterfly, and they all just go out to search for this guardian fairy when the magic meadow they live in starts to die. So they just have a lot of adventures along the way, and then they also need to jump over so many obstacles that are put in their path by Laverna, which is the antagonist in the story. She's like this evil fairy who tries to pollute the meadow. I love this movie so much because the meadow they live in, it's such a utopia. And I used to imagine myself living there, and yeah, I used to go wild in my daydreams because that was my version of wild. Now let's talk about Bibble, the true star of this show. Bibble is literally the gem who kept me rewatching the movie as many times as I did. He speaks in this kind of like gibberish language, and he's just so floofy, and I love him, and that's it. Shrek, Shrek, Shrek. One of the true loves of my life. Shrek is this ogre who lives in solitude in his swamp when suddenly his little, slice of heaven is shattered by an invasion of really adorable but also super annoying fairy tale characters. Like, I'm talking Pinocchio, I'm talking the three little pigs, the wolf is there too, just all of them. Yeah, not all of them, but all of them. So these fairy tale characters were all banished from their kingdom by Lord Farquaad, this tit with a... Farquaad wants to take over Shrek's swamp, but then Shrek cuts a deal with him to get his swamp back, which is really messed up if you think about it. Imagine having to cut a deal with somebody to get your own land back. How does that even work? Anyway, so in return, Shrek has to rescue Princess Fiona from a castle, who Farquaad then plans to marry. So Shrek ends up going on this mission with Donkey, a talking donkey, and adventures ahead. One of my favorite things about it was everything. Donkey's everything. He's so funny. He's always singing, which I can definitely relate to. He's actually a really sweet friend. Like, it's different from the way they show him in the beginning, you know. But he's such a sweet friend. And he's just amazing. It's impossible to have a dull day with a presence like that in your life. And Shrek himself, a legend. This dude was so funny, so witty, but he was just so refreshing, you know. And Princess Fiona, the baddie to end all baddies. She was just so fierce, so smart, and one time she blew up a bird with only her voice. I mean, rest in peace to the little guy. He probably didn't deserve that, but you know, it was still, the scene itself is still cool. But yeah, she was just such a badass, and I love her, and I love the entire movie.